Before there was Scream Factory, before there was Blue Underground, and hell, even before there was such a thing as a DVD or Laserdisc. Before there was such a thing as a video nasty, there was Vipco. So what is Vipco, you might ask? Vipco stands for Video Instant Picture Company, and it's based in the good old UK. The company was founded by a guy named Mike Lee, who doesn't seem to be that interested in giving out interviews, as there sadly isn't that many to be found anywhere on the internet. From what the internet tells me, he was working in a video store in the late 70s, when he saw that there was a demand for more and more videos, as the technology was still new and the availability of films was still growing. He started phoning up distributors, made some deals, and voila, Vipco was born. Vipco didn't start out being a horror-only company, as their first tapes was actually softcore sex films like Hot Sex in Bangkok and Cage Women. He then got a deal for Lucio Fulci's epic 1979 movie Zombie, got a fucking awesome artwork made for it, released it under the name of Zombie Flesh Eaters, and that was that. Vipco was here to stay. Some of the releases in the pre-cert era in Britain include said title The Boogeyman, Shogun Assassin, and The Driller Killer, with the latter having one of the most notorious VHS cover ever made, as it was one of the most used covers in the whole video nasty controversy which plagued the UK for the first half of the 80s. The company did dabble with other stuff than just horror in this time period though, and did release stuff like Rise and Fall of Idi Amin, Breaker Breaker, The Kid with the Broken Halo, and The Groove Tube. After the outrageous and obscene takedown on the VHS business in Britain, also known as the video nasty hysteria, which should never be forgotten, people actually went to jail for selling horror films for fuck's sake. Vipco took a step back and was inactive for the second part of the 80s. But in the early 90s, Vipco came back. In 1991, they started with their cult classic line by re-releasing several classics that they had already released in the pre-cert era. From 1991 till 1993, they released 50-something amount of fun films, where 99% of them was from the horror genre. Since censorship was still a big hassle in the UK at the time, they weren't able to do all these films totally uncensored. Happily for us in Scandinavia though, they did some uncensored versions known as the Danish Strong Uncut ones. I've never understood why they were called Danish versions, as the sure sell was available in Sweden as well. And that's where I first saw the Vipco tapes and got my very first ones. And it's also from Sweden that I'm still adding more and more of these to my ever-growing collection. They had a third and final era in the late 90s, when they again started to release horror films on VHS, now under the tag of Vipco's Vaults of Horror. There were some differences on the cuts from the earlier cult classic ones, but by then the market had started to switch to DVDs and started to require more quality out of the products than what Vipco was delivering. It didn't exactly help that a lot of films they released at this time was already released in their cult classic era. They also did use the Vault of Horror label to start releasing DVDs, but yeah, it wasn't just not the same, not for me anyways. And the covers were very, very lazy. Most of the releases was also just simply full-frame VHS transfers, which was just not up to par with what the customers expected at the time. There was also the Scream Time label, which just looked like the Vaults of Horror VHSs, just that this label was DVDs only as far as I know. Vipco didn't do that well in the DVD era, and in 2007 they gave up and closed up shop. Now yeah, I know that Vipco isn't exactly a favorite VHS label by most collectors of British VHSs, but for me they hold a very special place in my collector heart. As to be expected, this is due to a nostalgic feeling towards the label for me. Norway, which is where I'm from, was very strict on violence in movies back in the day. Even films such as Night of the Creeps was actually banned from having a theatrical run here, and back when I used to rent VHS copies of stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street, I would usually get the film with the most violent scenes trimmed down. So what was a young Norwegian horror fan supposed to do? Enter Sweden. Our IKEA building neighbors have always been more liberal when it comes to adult entertainment, such as violence in movies or porn. Just to get this point across, porn movies was banned from being sold in Norway, all the way up until the year 2006. Hell, there are even still movies that are flat out banned in my country, including Itchy the Killer. Now where was I going with this again? Alright, Sweden. Norway is known for being a highly expensive country, whereas Sweden has always been able to provide us with cheaper food, way cheaper alcohol, and of course, cheaper and better variety of movies. So needless to say, I loved our monthly trips to Sweden, and saved up all the little money I got and used it to buy VHS tapes of mostly horror films. For some unknown reason, one of the more regular stores that I guess can be compared to Walmart, just 10,000 times smaller, had a small collection of tapes for sale. Most were cheap, typical 2 for $10 type of deals, but in a small corner there was a bunch of strange tapes. They all had the same type of cover design, they all looked very violent and had a big, strong, uncut sticker to them. Which of course means that these were Vipco tapes. I still remember seeing titles such as Death Trap, City of Living Dead, Eaten Alive, The Burning, and Death of a Nun just sitting there in front of me with a hefty price tag. And when I say hefty price tag, I absolutely mean it. These tapes went for 299 Swedish kroner each, which equals around 30 to 35 US dollars at the time. Now that was a lot of money for a small Norwegian kid like me, even if we have oil coming out of our asses. So I did not have the chance to grab a lot of tapes before they were gone, which I believe was within a year or two. The very first tape I bought from the label was The Burning, and if you have seen this film, you know that I was off to a great start. The second tape I bought was Death of a Nun, and yeah. The very same Christmas, my lovely mom gave me Eaten Alive and Cannibal Ferox as Christmas gifts. Now how awesome is that? So for me, the cult classic line from Vipco presented me with information that there was other stuff out there that wasn't a part of the mainstream films that basically was all I had access to at the time. There wasn't no exploitedcinema.com or Diabolic DVD to order films from. Hell, I didn't even have internet access at that point. Vipco gave me access to movies that was different, extremely violent, and even browsing through their VHS covers felt like it should have been forbidden. And what a lovely feeling that was for a young fan of the genre. Now we live in a different world today with the rise of internet and sites that are out there to provide us with hidden gems and so much information that you can get up to date about any controversial or violent movie you want. Back in the early 90s things were different however, and Vipco, you really opened my eyes and I will always appreciate you for it. And if some super duper collectors want to point out that I hardly have 10% of the total releases, then yeah, I'm a slow collector. I have no rush in getting them all, and I live very comfortably with the fact that I don't have the most rare Vipco tapes. For me, the strong and cut tapes of the cult classic line that I actually could have bought as a teenager will always be more important to me than the early pre-cert ones that are worth 10 or 100 times more. Also, when I'm talking about the collector's aspect of the Vipco tapes, it's great that they're actually numbered for 1 and up, as they look so much better next to each other on the shelf. So Vipco is my favorite VHS company of all time. Do you have a company that you collect all the releases from, or just a company that means something more to you? Let me know in the comment section below and subscribe for more horror or collector related stuff coming very soon.